This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Good, but now the petrol station attendants were angry. Amesimama hapo kwa mafuta
Unafanya
na
nini
yeye
hapa?
haeki mafuta.
Toka hapa.
Toka bwana.
And asimama chini ya transformer. But you know, that really will speaks a lot to where the country finds itself today, because now fuel, fare, air transport is gonna go up. So that also explains the cost of living inflation that the government says has been contained. What does this mean moving forward?
Yeah, most households will definitely feel the pinch.
Yeah.
Not just the cost of transport.
Yeah.
We'll definitely see ripple effect in the cost of living generally. So cost of commodities definitely meant to go up over the next 1 month. And this is just the start.
The start, yeah.
Yeah, going with the trends at the Strait of Hormuz, we might be in for a long haul. So let's tighten our belts, as they say.
Yeah, I think this is that point where everybody has to tighten its belt. State House, please, let's tighten our belts, everybody. Let's ensure that we are able to survive these, because it's just getting started. It's just getting started. Anyway, happy to be here. Nataka kusalamia Evelyn. Salute. Today we've not talked, Evelyn. Mbona uko hivi? You've been busy? Okay, so I want to say hello to Derek. Hello, Derek. Who else is there, Evelyn? Anybody who's there? It's just you and Derek. Sawa. I want to say hi to JB on the other side, Mutanum, Asha, Teddy. Who's the new girl? There's a new girl over there. I want to say hi to you as well, Asanteni Sana, because I usually say these are like the MVPs, because they're the ones who make sure that the lights are working well, that the switches are working, that we are able to do what it is we do. So we want to say hi to everybody, as well as those who are listening in online via terrestrial radio. Remember, we have the Spice FM app, so get yourself at the app on Play Store and Google Play Store and App Store, so that you're able to be with us wherever it is that you are as well. Those who are joining us on KTN are both on KTN YouTube and KTN TV. Karibuni sana. Remember that you are streaming live on standardmedia.co.ke, on our YouTube pages. We are as well on Instagram, on X, on Facebook, across board. Be sure to be part of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. Let me take you through some of the conversations that we'll be having today. So at 7 a.m., we'll be talking about promises and accountability to the people. You know, Jesse, every other time during campaigns, what we see is promises, manifestos are carrying this promise that individuals want to deliver. And that is on a national front. But then again, there is what members of parliament promise their people they will do. Tawatengenezei barabara, I will sink a borehole here, I will ensure mepata basari. So there is that part. But then there is the implementing your promises. Where are we with that? Is it a question of endless promises and not implementing anything? These are the questions that we want to ask today. And to have this discussion, we will be Didmas Baraza, who is MP Kimilili, and Makali Mulu, who is MP Kitui. We shall be also having a conversation around fuel prices, fuel prices and the impact on key economic drivers. This one, I cannot afford not to have this discussion. We cannot afford not to talk about it, because it is affecting us directly. Not just us, but the global world order. But to have this discussion will be Justin Nyaga, who is the chairperson, Organization of Online Drivers, and the Secretary General, Hales Transport Umbrella Association. So these are the transport guys, as well as Edwin Mukabana, who is the chairperson, Federation of Public Transport Sector. So we want to know, what does that mean to you, Jesse, today when you order that app to go home? What does it mean when you want to move from point A to point B using a matatu? What does it mean for transporters who are ferrying goods from one point to the other, from produce to the market? What does it mean for those who are using SGR? Remember, we have diesel engines. Yeah. What does it mean to the airline industry as well?
Yeah, and equally, we'll be looking at the steps taken by the Kenyan government to try and cushion the Kenyan households because there's that VAT reduction. I think it's from 16 to 13%. Is it a drop in the ocean? Will we feel the steps taken to at least cushion the Kenyan households? And equally, I think they tapped into matters to do with subsidy. You've been called. I think they tapped into matters to do with subsidy, and there's some 6 billion, I think, from the fuel levy that has been taken out to perhaps cushion Kenyans from the global oil prices. So we'll try and get their take on the steps taken to cushion the Kenyan household. But tell me this, Aseto. Remember when the current president was deputy president and the Ukraine war had just broken out? The fuel prices were soaring. And I think President William Ruto is on record saying, "Mtupatie serikali," and we know how to deal with these matters of fuel. So they put pressure on former President Uhuru Kenyatta to a point that the former president was saying, "Ai, kweni mindo niko Ukraine. Munataka nifanye nini, surely." So now the issue is on the other foot. Let's see how the Kenya Kwanza administration deals with this particular issue that is not local, as you mentioned. It has ripple effects the world over. But of course, economy stupid. Kenyans will be focused on what exactly the government of William Ruto is doing to alleviate the suffering in Kenyan households.
And I think the bigger conversation as well would be, because we have no control on what is happening on the global front, right? But then we are exploring oil from Turkana. You know, Uganda is exploring its own oil, Tanzania as well, and many other African countries, especially within the region. So then what is the conversation around the region being self-sufficient and exploring what they have, perhaps even looking at getting to markets like Nigeria and getting that to this part of the world? So I think it's a bigger conversation. You know, the country does not have fuel reserves. So what are we doing around that? Because if we had some 10 billion liters held somewhere during such difficult points, perhaps we would not be here. So again, the government as well must tell us the plan moving forward, because we can't afford not to.
And in an ideal situation, Kenya should have oil reserves for 90 days.
90 days, yes.
No, and that's ideal. Reality is totally different. Though the Energy Committee made a status check at KPC yesterday, and I think we have fuel stock for the next few days, if I'm not wrong, with more expected to come in. But equally, this is where the rubber meets the road when it comes to testing the government-to-government deal. Because when they were enacting it, it was touted as the silver bullet. This is what will change Kenyans feeling the shock of the global fuel prices, the strain on the US dollar and all that. I remember President Ruto was very categorical with how this will change the situation in getting fuel in the country. So let's see if it stands the test of time.
Yes, Kabisa. In the meantime, let's talk about the proverb today. Today we are still in Djibouti, and one thing, when you talk about the military presence of different countries now, it hosts the permanent foreign military bases from several nations, including the U.S., China, and France. So the U.S. presence contains the only permanent U.S. military base in Africa, which is called, I hope I'm not butchering this name, but it's called the Lemonnier.
That one.
And the Olympic history, only one Olympic medal has been won by a Djiboutian athlete in 1988. Are you born?
That's a story for another day.
You know, but that's where it finds itself. You know, when we talk about a marathon, so he's called actually Hussein Ahmed Salah, who won the marathon in 1988 in an Olympic. Kenya, it is every year we know there's some medals that will come. You know, the medals will come from a marathon.
If medals don't come, then there's an issue.
There's a problem. Yeah, this is where heads roll. But you'll be fired. You'll be fired. You will go. Right? But so let's go to the proverb this morning. So, words are shared and meat is shared. Don't overthink it.
Words are shared and meat is shared. Oh, wow. Okay. I think the most basic explanation. Okay. Like people talk,
Yes.
we exchange ideas.
Yes.
And equally, I think it's a norm in the African culture to actually share a meal. Ukikuja kwangu siwezi kuacha tuende hivyo.
Yes.
A cup of tea, a glass of water, and in some cases tutakata nyama pia. So I guess that's the most basic.
Yeah.
Well, they say no interpretation is
wrong. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes,
Well,
yes.
what do you think about it?
I look at it in terms of as a generation, as a people, we talk among ourselves, we communicate among ourselves. So we share words, we exchange ideas with the hope that you better or you correct someone, right? But in the same event, as Africans as well, sharing a meal is and communing together brings people together. So in the same breath, the same way we share words with the hope of changing, the same way we share a meal to just show that we are together. Tuko pamoja. Ubuntu. You are because I am.
Yeah, no man is an island.
No man is an island. Yeah, there's the reggae song, yeah. No man is an island. Yes.
No man stands alone. Anyway.
Kikosi kizima. Anyway,
yeah.
let's say good morning to those who are listening to us this morning. We start with Eric Award. Eric, good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Leo, hello, set of 40 bob increase in diesel will increase everything else by almost same margin. Seem the scandal fuel was cheaper than this G2G rip-off. What happened to fuel stabilization, Kitty? Well, we're going to put that to test, fuel subsidy and as well as reduction of VAT. What exactly does that mean to the Mwananchi? Will we see some help coming from that side? Only time will tell. And starting today, tomorrow, as days go by, we will know if the initiatives being taken by the government will come to the help of Mwananchi. Vintage Oak Africa. Hi, good morning, all. Can we be given the makeup of new pump prices? So, the new pump prices, diesel has increased by 40 shillings.
Yes.
And petrol has increased by around 26, right? So that means as we speak right now, we're talking about 200 shillings, whichever way you want to look at it at the pump. So petrol goes for 206, I think, and diesel as well, 206 point something.
Yeah, there's a difference. I think one is 0.90, the other one is 0.80, thereabout. So minimal difference, but a jump of up to 40 shillings. Diesel, 28 shillings for petrol. It's historic, yeah?
It's historic.
I can't remember the last time it jumped this high.
I think the highest we've seen is around 8 shillings of 8. Has it gone even to 14? I don't know.
I think during the Ukraine war, that's when we got the brunt of the jump.
Yeah.
But, I mean, this is a record surge, and that's how the papers are putting it.
Yeah. So those are the prices we're looking at. And that also depends because that will be prices in Nairobi. But if you go further away from Nairobi because of transportation, prices tend to be high. So like in Migori County, I think Old Man will be buying it at 209, if I'm not wrong. Because prices I think. So those are the prices that we are talking about this morning. Vintage also there you go about the new pound prices and Prince Calvin. Good morning, Spice family. Roy Sambo always locked in. What Roy Sambo Salama Henry accepted. Hello Spice family. A set of vipi leo nimefoka mapema. Umefoka ama umetoka mapema? Okay, let's use that. Ebu twende kazi, mambo ni mengi, masani machache. Umetoka mapema, hujafoka. Foka inamaanisha something different. And Masharia Njeru, good morning Spice team. Watching from Portland, Oregon. There is a group of people in Kenya who thrive whenever disaster strikes. Let me tell you, like in communication, no PR is bad PR.
Every crisis presents an opportunity. So it depends with how you look at it. Yeah, glass half full, half empty.
Half empty.
Hey, Uliskia, I don't know if you saw this story. There's a story that emerged in Isinya where people were selling fuel at 250 shillings per liter, even before this particular price review by EPRA.
Yeah.
So they anticipated the surge in prices. They bought some stock and started selling as middlemen. Yeah. But of course, as we mentioned, EPRA has tried to reel in on this rogue fuel marketers who are, knocking off Kenyans in one way or the other.
Yeah, true. I think that's a good thing being done by EPRA as well. So, Leo, Hella Seto. 40 bob increase in diesel. Yes, it is 40 bob increase in diesel. And Jimmy Munuthi, fuel up. Where do we go from here? It's a crisis. Yes, indeed. Jimmy Munuthi, Evans Osena, where's my girlfriend Ndu? Your girlfriend Ndu is in Nigeria. You have no idea how she's floating that she's in Nigeria. But she's going to be back on Monday, inshallah. And Mark Mwangi, what's good in this government? Will we ever have just one functional ministry without a scandal or incompetence? Help me just find one. On the comment, please let us know that one thing that is working. Let us not put it out there. You guys who are listening to us, tell us that one thing that is working in this government so that it's coming from one and choose consuming services being offered by the government of Kenya. And Iregi Wanjoy, good morning, people. I am ready for the morning dose of the Situation Room, watching from Mombasa, Habaria, Mombasa. And that dose that you're telling you, Situation Room is a drug. Jidunge kabisa, be here to ensure that you do enjoy that. And David Mwangera, good morning, Spice FM. Beya mafuta nimbaya. Sema nimbaya. Nimbaya.
Remember that song? Beya mafuta imepanda siwezi narudi ocha. Ocha.
Yes. Yeah. Like that person at that time, who was it by the way?
Can't remember his name.
It's the same guy Nyundo. Flex.
Yeah, is it?
Is it not Flex? I think it's Flex.
Oh, Calif Records.
Yes, I think it's Flex, yeah. I think it's Flex.
We're showing our age here.
Wait, it's allowed. No, we listen to music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Robert Miner, good morning, Spice. We are importing gold in the form of fuel. Singapore, here we come. Singapore, here we go. Good morning, Aseto. And Spice family, please make it make sense. Why should diesel be more expensive than petrol? Jennifer Tenye, Maswali ni mengi, majibu machache. Tibbs Muge, good morning, Spice FM. AI bubble rippled about Linux folks update. Okay. Sawa. Mtuflani, good morning, people. You are here. Give God thanks and use the day well. Yes, in all that you do, you give thanks. Mimi nasema asante, and you, Jesse, for seeing the day.
We give thanks, Mana.
We give thanks.
Yeah.
Young Jedi, good morning, gents. Good morning to you, Young Jedi. And Izakale, 8 years ago, a ribbon was cut on a road that exists mostly in speeches. Now the president is firing a contractor for not finishing what was never started. And petrol has gone up. Maswali. Simon Kiberu, good morning. Tuned in from Mombasa. Time to tighten our belts. Fuel prices are a record high. Morning, guys. It's surprising for fuel prices. God be with us. That is Thomas Osoro. Asante sana, and to everybody who is listening to us. Asante sana for being here, and welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. We take a short commercial break. We'll be back to look at the weather and traffic. Good morning at exactly 30 minutes after 6 a.m. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Triggering high transport cost, inflation, and widespread economic strain.
Well, the Standard says this is the steepest rise in pump prices for both products since capping fuel prices in 2010. So this is historic.
Historic, yeah. Yeah, so new prices of a litre, so that would be for diesel will be 206 shillings, and the new price for petrol will be 206 per litre in Nairobi. Those are prices for Nairobi. In other areas across the country, we have different prices and variations due to what one would say is cost of transportation as well. So in Migori, I'm pretty sure is 209 shillings. And there is something that is happening at IMF. Stop lying is what IMF is saying. The country's bid for an IMF bailout has hit a brick wall, with the IMF warning of billions in hidden debt beneath official figures. The Kenyan officials in Washington, led by Treasury CS Mbadi, have embarrassingly been exposed as what? As lies. Yeah, we're trying to hide everything.
Accountability is a problem in Kenya, and I think this has been an ongoing conversation. The likes of the Kiharu Member of Parliament, Ndindi Nyoro, have been sustaining pressure for the true reflection of our debt stock in the country. And remember, there's this privatization issue. When it comes to, is it privatization or the use of the RMLF funds? Securitization, I think that's the word. We haven't put that as our debt stock. So it's definitely an issue we need to look at even as we go to the IMF for assistance.
So you see here now, the lender accuses Kenya of using a narrow legal definition of debt. Delegation is in the US hoping for a bailout after months of a rocky talk. So pretty much what IMF is saying, Agai, you want help from us, we have no problem, but please come clean on the real situation of your debt. So if that is what they're taking to IMF, how does our debt look like if we have to lie for us to get a bailout? For me, that's what I'm concerned about. And why do we have to lie? Is it because it's so bad that when you present it, then men will ask questions on your capability of servicing the debt, the loans that they will be giving you? Anyway, decades legacy killed 6 months in death. It has been 6 months of ODM and its leadership to undo what its founding father, Raila Odinga, built over 5 decades. Now, the once formidable party base is wobbling as leaders fight off any competition, real or imagined. And his turned-friend William Ruto is having a field day in his backyard. You'll get that story on page 6 of Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. So that's what you find ourselves in. And if you go to page 2, the fallen flag, erectile dysfunction cases rising among young men. Now, kwambia watu hapa, it looks like hawezi wakalima shamba. Clinicians report a growing number of younger patients seeking care. Many of the cases stem from anxiety. About 1 in 10 young adults in Nairobi County suffer from the condition, with strong links to physical inactivity. So, this is what I'm going to say. They're saying you are not walking, you're not running, you're not lifting, you're basically inactive. But at the end of the day, you want to be active, no uweze kulima shamba. Boss, you need to choose a struggle. All these things go hand in hand. And we talk about anxiety. We need to find the reason why young people are experiencing anxiety. So there is the issue of like even the economy. How is the future looking like? But the promise vis-a-vis deliverables, cost of living, all these things as well should be looked into. So ED is affecting an estimated 150 to 200 million men worldwide. Projections suggest it could rise to more than 300 million by 2025 due to aging populations and lifestyle diseases. So men 40 to 49, 10 to 15% report some degree of ED. Men 50 to 59 years report 20 to 40, and men 60 years and above up to 50 to 70. But increasingly, cases are rising in men under 40, linked to stress, I told you, obesity, Majama, obesity. There is diabetes and pornography overuse. People are watching, but not Netflix. Just saying.
Well, let's just say watch what you eat.
What?
Yeah.
Watch what you eat, yes. And exercise is important. Now, residents blame poverty for lack of access to healthcare. So high levels of poverty in rural villages in Kilifi County continue to hinder residents from accessing better healthcare. This was revealed during a free integrated health screening medical camp organized by the Rotaract Club. So here's a question of, you have SHA, right, which is supposed to cushion you. So what does it mean when one is unable to pay? I know right now there is Lipa Pole Pole, but does Lipa Pole Pole grant you access to healthcare in SHA? I think these are the conversations we're having, because remember, my dad usually says this: when you do this, your fingers are all not the same. And that is just how life is. So what is the government doing to ensure that as much as life represents our fingers, that at least everyone gets something that is equitable for all? So that would be healthcare, education, and access to security and enjoying some rights as well. So Fourth Wiseman Play Thrills Kenya Drama Fest, that is in the ongoing drama competitions that are ongoing, and 2 are arrested at the entrance of Army compound. So 2 suspects who were arrested at the gate of military premises in Nairobi have been handed over to Anti-Terrorism Police Unit for further investigation. So that is Isaac Abdi Adin and Isaac Mohammed. Isaac were arrested at the ongoing affordable housing project belonging to the military at Roysambu. Those stories that we have on Kenya's Bold newspaper. What do you have on the Daily Nation?
Well, the Daily Nation is going big with the issue of fuel still, but a different angle.
Yes.
Fuel lies. The controversial cargo has triggered a criminal investigation. And according to the Daily Nation, that substandard fuel consignment that the government ordered the importer to ship back a week ago has already been pumped into Kenya Pipeline Company's system and released to oil dealers. The 60,000-ton petroleum hull has highest levels of sulfur, over 4 times the permitted limit. They say the devil is in the detail. Remember, the CES told us categorically that this consignment has been ordered out of the country with immediate effect. But now, according to this Senate committee who are grilling KPC Managing Director Pius Mwendwa, they say that according to KPC, we received the consignment on March 27th, but after testing it, we realized that there were high levels of sulfur. Good. It had sulfur content of 43 ppm against the required 10 ppm. Later on, they say, documents tabled before the committee shows that the instructions to actually waive this particular consignment this was dated March 28th, 2026, a letter from Mr. Kinyanjui, that's the Trade Cabinet Secretary, to the Energy Cabinet Secretary, Opio Wandai, who said, see no evil, hear no evil. I don't know. Is ignorance really defense in his case?
No.
Well, we'll find out. But the paper trail seems to hint that he was in the know. The letter directed that the 60 tons of substandard petrol be blended with existing stocks to dilute excessive manganese and sulfur levels detected in the consignment aboard MT Paloma. Wajinga ni sisi.
Let me tell you. When you talk about these fuel prices, one Rigathi Gachagua leader of DCP called it out and said that fuel prices would actually go up by up to 40 shillings. Evelyn, we have that bite, right? Yeah, let's just listen to it.
He wants fuel increase to be up to 40 shillings. And it will happen in the next few weeks. Per litre, it will go up to 40 shillings or even beyond. So we are calling him out. You have taken over every business in this country. You have put people in custody because they are bringing competition to your business. And the DCI is being used now to deal with competitors.
Jesse, wajinga ni sisi.
Okay. I think it was anybody's guess that the price of fuel would go up.
Is it a coincidence that he just guessed right on the money? I mean, what I asked Mr. Okay, we know that Rigathi Gachagua has access to intelligence, right? Pretty much he's
well connected.
He's well connected. He knew about it. But with that in mind, one would assume that the biggest consumer of intelligence in the country, President William Ruto, would have shared this information with his people on ground, that is in the ministry, EPRA, and even Treasury, to look at if we were to remove subsidy, how that would then go into cushioning the prices, because one would hope that subsidy would have gone to offset some bills on a purchase of fuel that would then end up being sold to fuel those in the industry at a cheaper price, so that even if we see the variations of prices, it would not be 40 shillings or 26 shillings,
And it begs the question, these individuals who are arrested, what exactly were they arrested for? If this mafuta, at the end of the day, was blended and is already in the Kenyan market, the bad fuel is in the market. Ishaingia. So they had the chance of nipping this at the bud to ensure hii mafuta itoke, as they said. And we usually repeat, they're heavy on rhetoric, very light on implementation. Tuliambiwa itatolewa, haijatolewa. So when Kenyans...
tuliambiwa hijaingia, ilikuwa ishaingia. You know, like, this is the thing. Again, we call upon Kenyans, right? You asked a question. Someone asked us, like, what is that one thing that is working in Kenya today? We take it back to you, you know. Kenyans are the consumers of services, right? Being offered by the Kenyan government. Tell us that which is working, you know. We don't want to tell you what is working or what is not. We're just we want to tell Kenyans what it is you are saying. We want to tell the government what wananchi are saying. So we take it back to you to tell us in our comment sections. You can text us as well, so that we just say it out there. Whether it's working or not, we will share that. But I think, I don't know. Tunahitaji kuombea tuwekewe mikono, ama we just need to make sure things work, man.
So now we're not only dealing with concerns about transparency and accountability. There's low-quality fuel that has been supplied to consumers all around the country. What happens if your vehicle knocks engine and then unaenda kwa mechanic unaambiwa, mafuta ndo ilikuwa chafu, ilikuwa mbaya. If you start connecting the dots, it could be this substandard fuel that is costing you an extra coin. You know.
It's not even an extra coin, man. It would cost you your hard-earned investment.
And endanger your life.
You know, and not just your life, because if you talk about substandard fuel, that means emissions. That thing is substandard because of the emissions into the atmosphere. So that means you're breathing emissions that will make it even worse than already is. So that means you look at the cost of treating Kenyans in the future will be costly for the Republic of Kenya, because at some point down the line, they allowed substandard fuel into the market. You get? So it is not just about your asset. It's not about the corruption. It's not about losing the money that you're seeing. It is health. It is corruption. It is inefficiency that does exist. And then one would wake up and tell you, nilitumiwa barua, but sikuwa najua. In fact, saizi, people have fashioned themselves. You know, ukijipata on the other side, you become a whistleblower. In fact, I ran to the president and told him what was happening.
Ignorance is no defense, and this rot stinks. Especially since they said that they've taken the necessary measures to ensure the substandard fuel does not enter the Kenyan market. They've been caught lying. So this culture of lies in the country definitely needs to come to an end. We need to see action, not just those 3 top energy officials who are arrested. Where's prosecution? How many days later? Over 12 days later since they were arrested. But equally, the man who's denying culpability has a paper trail leading to his office.
To his office,
You know, and the buck stops with someone. If it's not the CS, then perhaps you can take it higher to President William Ruto.
Thank you. Thank you. So if the CS, I don't know, then Mr. President, these people work in your government. Do you take responsibility?
And there was a National Security Council that sat down to approve the search for other alternatives in terms of fuel stock in the country. So this thing goes all the way up.
Who chairs the National Security Council again?
I think it was the head of public service, Felix Koskei.
Who reports to?
The president himself.
Thank you.
Yeah, so see no evil, hear no evil.
Say no evil.
Anyway, that's the big story on the Daily Nation. Make sure you grab yourself a copy and find out more details about the bad fuel that's already in the market and how the Senate were told all about it. The Vikoli done an explainer on why excess sulfur and manganese are bad for vehicle engines. The damage that bad fuel can do, it can increase vehicle maintenance costs, and it has a ripple effect on the spending of Kenyan households. Just yesterday, 2 people were shot dead in Embu protest chaos. And these Kenyans were protesting about the poor state of the Ishiara Level 4 hospital in Mbere North constituency. So it's unfortunate the lives had to be lost. Of course, we criticize the use of force. Hopefully, there were peaceful protests. But at the end of the day, no Kenyan should lose their life due to protesting against the poor state of medical facilities in their constituency.
Let me put it this way. So these individuals went to protest because they were saying, if I come to this hospital and I don't get service, I will die. But then your death is actually hastened. I can as well just shoot you.
It's unfortunate. Heavy-handedness of police. But at times they find themselves in a precarious situation.
True.
Yeah, where, the peaceful protests are not so peaceful.
Not so peaceful.
So perhaps it necessitates the use of force. But at the end of the day, there was a court ruling that said, do not use live bullets. So
you use a rubber bullet. I mean...
kuna own goal mingi.
Nakwambia. Premier League, naisha tuna own goals.
Some people are bottling, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Anyway, other stories making headlines. Ruto moves to ease tension as split widens in the Orange Party. There's trouble in paradise as the ODM Central Management Committee meeting that was planned for today has been moved to tomorrow, and a section of ODM leaders accuse MP Junet Mohammed of rocking the boat and dismissing his remarks. Well, there's push and pull within the Orange Party. Find out more details about what exactly is happening in the broad-based government as ODM leader Oburu Oginga is calling for a crisis meeting. Will they be able to sort out their affairs in time ahead of the pre-election talks, even as they push for a higher stake in that pre-election agreement with UDA in the run-up to the 2027 general election? Is the Orange a shell of its former self?
Yeah, one would say. One would say. Because, you see, you start from the fact that with the way Kenyans look at Orange Party today, you look at there is the Sifuna faction and then there is the Oburu faction. So that in its own self removes ODM from being one united entity that Kenyans knew it for, because there was no point when ODM would have been split when Bapa was here, you know? Right now, it's just a shell for itself because it's not even speaking in one voice. And then that coupled up with now Junet Mohammed finding himself at the Central Committee as well. I mean, no. It is not the ODM that one Raila Odinga built for over 20 years.
There was this Raila Odinga philosophy of scatter none, gather
all, yeah.
Hey, saini, gather none, scatter
all.
You know, if you don't like the direction we're heading, you can shape up or ship out.
One would say that there is a comment that was made here last week by one of our listeners and said, Orange Democratic Movement.
Yes.
That D in the middle stands for democracy. Can ODM today speak about Orange Democratic Party where democracy is not being seen within itself? That D.
But it depends on the side of the fence you're sitting.
You're sitting, yeah.
Yeah, because those who are supporters of power, tunataka power, wanasema democracy does not mean indiscipline. Unajua, toe the party line. We've decided to talk with UDA. If you don't like it, well, you can speak. But at the end of the day, you have to toe the party line. So, vested interests,
it's
pulling
vested
in different directions.
Exactly. So that actually even makes it a former shelf of itself, right?
Yeah, a shell of its former self. There's good news for the sports fraternity in Kenya. There's a lady called Madina Okot who has made her way to the WNBA.
Yeah.
She was actually shortlisted to join, is it the Atlanta Hawks, if I'm not wrong? She's 21 years old. She joins the Atlanta Dream, rather, in the 2026 WNBA draft that happened Monday night in New York City. So she's 6'6".
Yeah.
Tusiongelele height. But she's living her American dream, and congrats on flying the Kenyan flag high. We rarely hear about moves, especially in the women's basketball. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that was huge. That is huge because she's from Kakamega Mumias. Then she played for Zetech, you know, and then she went to, I think, a university in the US, and now she's been drafted. I think it's a good thing for her. We say, Congole, good work done.
Yeah, congratulations. All the best in representing Kenya. I think that's basically it on the Daily Nation. Of course, more stories, but we were just canvassing through some of the top stories on the Daily Nation. Nation. What other paper?
Yeah, so let's look at the Business Daily real quick before we look at one major story. So we have Odinga's transfer B Energy stake to offshore companies. So family cedes 35% stake to firm in British Virgin Island, and aides of Raila and Oburu join board in shakeup. So the Odinga family has transferred their 35% stake in fuel dealer B Energy to a British Virgin Islands registered company, a regulatory filing. Shown us the shares were transferred from the Odinga's investment vehicle, Pan-African Petroleum Limited, to Africanable Corporation registered in the tax haven. Filings at the company registry shows. So it looks like there is some changes in the B Energy that Raila Odinga and the Odinga family owns 35%. So Shanta bets 66 billion shillings on Kenya gold rush. So mineral exploration for Shanta Gold Kenya has committed $510 million, that is 6 billion, in investment in the country's officials of the mining ministry have. Kuna gold Kenya, that someone is willing to invest 66 billion. You imagine what they're looking in terms of ROI, return on investment, right?
Yeah.
There is gold. One asked the question, are we going to process it to sell finished product, or are we just selling raw materials?
Okay.
You know, like what Burkina Faso did. Our gold is ours. When you're buying it as a bar. You're not buying it in pebbles, in nuggets. You're not buying them in nuggets.
To a value addition.
Yes. So Taifa Gas signs deal for stake in Pan-African Energy. Tanzania, as the Taifa Gas, has inked an agreement to acquire a 49% stake in one of the country's largest gas producers, Pan-African Energy. So Tanzania as well is getting inside the country by investing into local farms. Investors reject state securities switch over. Now, investors rejected a government offer to switch from costly maturing bond to a new chapter security, forcing the state to pay them 18.2 billion shillings in August.
And there's this other story on KNH.
Yeah.
We had highlighted how the nurses had started their industrial action just yesterday. We rarely give government their credit. This time round, they have acted fast to avert a crisis at the largest referral facility in Kenya. The nurses have called off their strike after striking a deal with their employer. And according to the Health Cabinet Secretary, the agreement covers several critical areas, including improved medical cover, structured promotions, measures to ease workload challenges, and the progressive conversion of nurses on contract to permanent and pensionable terms. So the sick at Kenyatta National Hospital can breathe a sigh of relief as nurses are back on duty today.
Yes, kudos. Good stuff happening. And as well, we recognize Felista Mugo, who is in the MMA. He was an MMA fighter as well, and he's also doing well in that space, you know. So
she won a fight.
Yeah, she won a fight, as well as Eliud Kipchoge is going on a Kipchoge tour, world tour as well, just going out there to sell the message that no single human is limited. You know, good things coming from our sports fraternity, but that is just what Kenya is. If only we could just unite from all spaces, political, religion, and we all work together, Kenya would just be on a different pedestal. It is exactly 7 a.m. time for Newswire with Leah Ubaga. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.